Here now, Florida Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz, among those demanding answers in that hearing today. Congressman, good to see you here in Florida.
Good to see you.
So I watched as much as I could this morning before we started getting ready for the debate of this hearing, and it was pretty heated in there. What do you think was accomplished today?
We learned that Rosenstein won't tell us whether or not he even read the FISA application that resulted in spying on officials associated with the Trump campaign. And I think there's a real transition that occurred today. This is going from just being Robert Mueller's probe to a probe that Rosenstein is responsible for, because he's ultimately who appointed Mueller. And so the staffing decisions that demonstrate bias, the accountability, kind of the cleanup of people like Peter Strzok and Lisa Page should fall to Rosenstein, and we didn't get the answers we wanted today.
Let's take a listen to Representative Jordan. He's pressing Rosenstein over the releasing of documents, which I know has been top of mind for all of you. Watch this part.
The House of Representatives is going to go on record saying you haven't complied with requests from a separate and equal branch of government, that you haven't complied with subpoenas, and you got 7 days to get your act together. And I want to know why you won't give us what we've asked for.
Sir, I certainly hope that your colleagues are not under that impression. That is not accurate, sir. And
it is accurate. We have caught you hiding
Mr. Chairman, can we allow the witness to answer?
I mean, how do you square that?
Well, there have been a number of circumstances where we found documents that were responsive to the requests from Congress, but they weren't produced to us. So that was deeply troubling. Also, I think you've seen Mr. Jordan's frustration bubble beyond just a small group of members on the Judiciary Committee to now the entire House of Representatives taking a vote, and virtually every Republican saying we do have a role for oversight. Rosenstein has frustrated that oversight, and we want the documents in 7 days.
I mean, at the heart of what you are digging for is whether or not there was a political agenda in place to try to disrupt the Trump campaign, and whether or not some of these agents, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, took it upon themselves to try to instigate or set a pretext for investigating the Trump campaign. Did you get any further down that road today?
I think both today and yesterday, particularly where we got the chance for the first time to interview Peter Strzok, we learned a lot more about the ways in which the bias not only existed, but it actually manifested in investigative decisions. The Inspector General, a Democrat appointed by Barack Obama, even said that he could not rule out bias as the reason why the Hillary Clinton investigation was pushed aside and the Donald Trump Russia investigation was elevated beyond what the facts would have called for.
Yeah, so the main question is whether or not these agents tried to figure out a way to sort of poke holes in the campaign, the Trump campaign, to kind of put feelers out there and see if they put out that bait, would anybody bite? Would they say, you know, oh, sure, I'd love to hear some dirt on Hillary Clinton, and that possibly it's even been suggested that they would then be entrapped in a situation where it appeared that they were doing something wrong. Is that what you believe happened?
That's what the documents will show. Today, when I asked Rosenstein if there was any intelligence collected on the Trump campaign before the George Papadopoulos report, he would not answer that question. Now, if the answer was no, he could have clearly said no. Instead, he said it's classified, which seems to suggest there's information there was intelligence collected on the Trump campaign, and that would indicate whether or not this was entrapment or baiting of some kind for political purposes.
So what do you do next to get the answers to those questions?
The question is whether or not our leadership, now having heard from the entire House of Representatives on this question, will say either the documents show up or we start the impeachment proceedings of Rosenstein.
And what about the president? Is there more that he could do?
Well, you know, the president's in an awkward position here because I think the bias is reflected against him. The president could declassify documents from before the Papadopoulos report, and that would tell us whether or not there was spying or intelligence collection on the Trump campaign, and I've encouraged the president to do that.
We saw Trey Gowdy encouraging them to come to some conclusion or to present evidence if they have it. What is your sense of the Mueller time frame right now?
Well, we don't know it, and that's what's so troubling. I mean, we're almost 2 years into the Trump presidency. My goodness, if there was evidence of collusion, I think the country should see it. Unfortunately, now we've got a circumstance where so many Americans are in doubt, but fewer and fewer. Latest CBS poll shows more than half the country does not approve of how Robert Mueller is handling the investigation. More than half the country also believes that the Mueller investigation is politically motivated, not based on the facts.
We'll see what Mr. Mueller comes up with and how it was carried out. Good to see you, Congressman.
Hey,
Thank you very much.
You did a great job moderating that debate.
Thank you.
I think my man Ron DeSantis did a great job.
It was an interesting night. We'll see how it plays out. Good to see you, sir.
All right.